Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I am honored to have Shane Heirman with me. Shane is the head coach of the men's basketball team at Incarnate Word. And one of the things I think you're going to hear in his journey today is how when you fall in love with a sport, you're going to have the ability to really take that to the next level. So, Shane, thanks so much for being on.
No, this is a privilege. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So to just start your journey, you grew up in Illinois, which is it's a sports state, but certainly no lack for basketball there. Talk a little about getting introduced to the sport and what you found and started to love about it.
I grew up playing because my brother really loved it. I probably had more interest in baseball and football at the time, but I was following my brother's footsteps and had such admiration for him that I really kind of dove into it and really committed myself to it. We were both really lucky. We had a gentleman by the name of Tom Less who coached us pretty much through grade school to high school. And his brother is Jim Less, who played in the NBA and was the head coach at Bradley, and he's currently the head coach at UC Davis. So we were really fortunate to have some incredible tutelage near us and around us as we were growing up, and it made it really easy to fall in love with it.
I love it. Whenever someone has a sibling, I've got a brother that's 5.5, 6 years older than me. I know that the goal of beating your brother in a one-on-one game also meant like you were equally as good as Michael Jordan was once you could accomplish that feat. Talk a little about the competitive nature between you and your brother, and if there was any amazing, one-on-one backyard battles.
Oh, there was plenty. There's been plenty of times, usually me running inside asking for mom because I'm bleeding or something's going on or he's bullying me, and so. But we had plenty of battles, and he developed a unique competitive spirit in me, and it wasn't limited to basketball. It was anything we were doing. We would compete at it, and we to this day, Christmas we got some incredible backgammon, less physical games now, more mental, but we're still competing to this day, and it's a lot of fun.
I love that. Now, within your growing up and kind of excelling at basketball, I think a person can fall in love with a sport, but there's a different level and dedication and attention to detail that one has to give if they're going to decide to go play it at a collegiate level. And so talk a little bit about, finding that passion to like really work at it, and wanting to work at it so much that, hey, it's a priority to me and this is going to lead to my next opportunity where college basketball ends up being in your cards.
Yeah, I think somewhere along the lines of my adolescent teen years, you start to recognize how work can separate yourself.
Yeah.
And an enthusiasm and an attitude can separate yourself. And so I think all of us probably at some level, if you're committed to sport, you're trying to play at the highest possible levels and you're dreaming about it. And so that was the goal, and I knew if that was going to be possible, I had to have a unique work ethic and attitude and enthusiasm to me to continue to do it when I didn't want to do it, when it was hard. And I learned that at a pretty young age, again, from my parents, from my siblings, from my high school coach. And so that carried me and allowed me to transition better to college.
Yeah. Now, for you, I'm sure you had many different offers, but the opportunity that you decided to take was to walk on at Tulsa. So talk a little bit about the decision to go to Tulsa over, any other of the opportunities that you had.
Yeah, there was a coach, Dave Wojcik, who I'm still very close with to this day. Just he and I built a rapport and kind of went for it and kind of joined in a situation. What made Tulsa so unique and still unique, I'm a part of a group chat with every single player I played with in my time.
Wow.
And so they did an incredible job of cultivating a family atmosphere where it was bigger than basketball. This was relational, and it started with our head coach and his wife and their kids and how it all came about. You knew you were a part of something bigger than yourself, and so it was really attractive, and I was hoping and happy that I could contribute a little bit to it.
I love it. Now, thinking about it as a player, from a coach standpoint now today, I'm sure culture is a big thing that you're talking about. And it's the headline of every team and organization is culture. And the hard part is it means something different to each organization. So I guess as you reflect back on your time at Tulsa, what about the way the coach handled the situation, or the players, or the situations that you were put into, allowed for that camaraderie and that really like team and family feeling?
Yeah, I mean, we had three buzzwords that were kind of at the core of everything we did, which was character, toughness, and passion. It's things that I carry with me today.
Yeah.
And so I think when you have really good people that are tough and love what they're doing, you're probably going to find a way through adverse moments. And I think they did a good job of creating adversity within practices too, to try to get you and give you the tools to respond. And we probably averaged 23, 24 wins every year I was there. And so I was a part of some really special teams. And I think how they created that synergy, that chemistry was really rare. And again, just so fortunate to be a part of it.
I love that. Now, while you're there, you met a pretty important soccer player. So talk a little bit about meeting this gal.
Yeah, pretty significant, and so we actually didn't start dating till after college, but knew each other and had interactions. But it's really nice that we are both rooted in Tulsa. Because we can always go back, and we have friends that are there, and we have a shared experience of commonality of the small things that make Tulsa unique and cool. But again, yeah, I mean, somebody that obviously changed my life, and because of her unique ability and understanding of Division I sports, it's allowed me to be a better coach. Because she understands the commitment, she's flexible, she understands, the recruiting aspect of this, the phone calls, the relationships, the dinners at our houses, so she has to be as much all in as anybody in the program. And to have her by my side through this is incredible. I hit the absolute jackpot, and so every day I'm thanking my lucky stars that she's in my life.
I love it. Now, to continue with your college playing career, senior year end up earning a scholarship. And I think that is, one, a testament to work ethic, but two, oftentimes it's a testament to the way your team and your coaches feel about what you're adding, as a value to the teams. Talk a little bit about that and, just that moment and earning that, scholarship, what that meant for you.
Yeah, so they actually gave it to me. I was there for a semester and they gave it to me. So I had it a little bit longer, but being able to earn your coaching staff's respect, their trust, your teammates' respect, trust, was a big deal. And again, I was really fortunate. I played with 4 NBA players while I was there, and so to have them, again, respect me and trust me in those situations was a testament to a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah. Now, you loved basketball, but did you know you wanted to go into coaching, or at what point did you start thinking, hey, maybe coaching could be a career opportunity?
Yeah, while I was in school, I had a little bit of an itch. Coaches in my life, starting with my dad, through my high school coach, through college, and I had really, really significant assistant coaches. David Cason, who's had a lot of success in college basketball. Dave Wojcik, who became the head coach at San Jose State. Jeremy Ballard, who's the head coach at Florida International. So I had some really, really instrumental people pouring into me. So to feel yourself transform and really want to be and inspired to be a better version of yourself by the gentleman that you're around every single day, that's a unique feeling. And so there's a vocational aspect in it for me where I can be a similar light to somebody else, a similar fire of if you really invest in people, the best version of themselves can really come to fruition.
I love that. Now, for you, as you're, in college and thinking, hey, coaching is going to be, the next step, this is where paths for, collegiate coaches can go many different ways, right? Some go the GA route, some go, hey, lower but still in the college ranks, some go to the high school ranks. Talk a little about your first role, and we made the connection earlier, but you and Coach Huss teaming up there.
Yeah, so what's funny about it is out of college, I knew I wanted to coach, but I wasn't ready. Like I was still trying to figure out life. Yeah. So I actually took for a year, I had a normal 9-to-5, and I was working, which only reinforced what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I got to put the shorts and sweatpants back on, and I ended up taking a job with the Indiana Pacers. And I was about 10 days into the job, and I broke my jaw. I had a significant jaw surgery, and I had teeth replaced, jaw wired shut, all these things that made me go home, essentially. And at the time, my home was in Southwest Michigan, and kind of trying to figure out what's next. I missed my opportunity, and my dad ironically finds a classified newspaper ad that says, "Hey, looking for a varsity basketball coach at this prep school called La Lumiere." And I'm like, I'm not coaching high school basketball. I got this Division I. I'm not. That my mind was made NBA. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And he's like, well, what, So I put my resume together, showed it off to the school. They call me in like an hour. I'm like, hey, can you be here right now? And I'm like, okay. I mean, this is interesting. So go down there, and Alan Huss is there, and he's the head coach, and he's in his second year, I believe. And just trying to get it kind of off the ground, and there's a vision for it, and now you're kind of in the implementation stage of it. And so he and I hit it off, and we went to lunch. We talked through this and what it would look like, and man, I was really impressed with him, and I felt like I could learn a lot. And I was in a situation, hey, I'm close to home. I still have to be near home because I got a lot more work to be finished. So this looks like a cool opportunity for the year. And lo and behold, the amount of doors that had opened up. You want to talk about a moment off a classified ad. I think that's maybe the most significant moment for me, because it led me to Coach Huss, it led me to La Lumiere, it led me to Nike, and so many different dominoes that have impacted my life in such a positive way.
Yeah. So the school that you're coaching at doesn't just end up being any old high school, right? You end up having a couple different NBA players that come through the ranks, and you compete at the national level and are, playing in championship games. So talk a little bit about, building that first team and that first culture and what you bought into on Coach Huss's vision.
Well, he first of all, he's incredibly smart. If he stopped doing this basketball thing right now, he'd be as successful in corporate as he would right now. And he's very detailed, he's organized, he's thoughtful, and he's got a vision and a belief, and he can galvanize people to get behind it. And so was paying attention, and it's a lot of those things have led him to be the head coach in Waiting at Creighton right now, and gave him the success to be, take High Point to the success they had. But I think the team was built around, we had a unique situation. Prep school kind of at the time had this negative connotation to it, where if you didn't make your grades or you didn't do that, you had to go to prep school. And we kind of revitalized it from that philosophy to, we are at a high academic school. La Lumiere has got some very prestigious alumni. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court graduated from La Lumiere. So we wanted to really focus on, again, high character individuals, and that this was a privilege to be able to get this kind of education and this kind of basketball experience, and kind of merge that and find those people that wanted that unique opportunity, where the formation of a total human being was equally as important as the player. And we really locked in and moved in and try to weed through it. And I can think of one player in particular, Jalen Coleman-Lands, where he was at the time the number one player in the state, and he was being recruited by everybody, and he was at a really good situation at Cathedral High School in Indianapolis. And so it was man, this would be a really big move for their family to commit to us. And he had a little brother, Isaiah, and so both of them decided to come. And I think from that moment, it allowed us the opportunity to go recruit. It legitimized us in a different way, which allowed us to go get the next guy and start competing at a national level.
Yeah. So when you think about you're young at that point in time, right? I mean, we're a year and a half out of college. You're a young guy, and you're coaching young men. And I think, the statement you had said is, so many coaches in your life have had such a profound impact on you that, gosh, I would love to be able to do that for, the next generation of men. And so talk a bit about that, even at a young age, but just really starting to cultivate significant relationships with the players, because it's more than just a game.
Oh, definitely. And especially if you want to maximize performance, the relationship is far more important than the person's far more important than the player. Yep. And so, it's not really something you talk about. That's action, that's time, that's commitment, that's sacrifice, and having them build the trust and the rapport with you that they know beyond this game, I'm somebody you can rely on, I can trust, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to, in so many situations, I can think back to those early days of spending early mornings, 5:30 in the morning, workouts and doing things and allowing guys to tangibly see themselves get better, but then also going to meals, hanging out at my house, getting away from the game to where it's bigger than basketball. Let's talk about some current events. Let's talk about what's going on in your existence. What are you struggling with? What can I help you? How can I serve you? And I think the more that you can totally invest in the human outside of just the player, the more you're actually going to maximize who they can become as a player.
That's really good. Now, two very notable names for you guys while you were coaching there is Jaren Jackson and then Jordan Poole. Talk a little about coaching high-level players. Not that any of the other players weren't, but I mean these are guys that have reached pinnacle of the basketball echelon. And then also talk a little bit about winning the national championship.
Yeah, so ironically, both of those guys weren't as highly touted as you would imagine with the careers that they've had. And so when they came to us, it started with character. It started with two really, really unique families that this was bigger than basketball for them, and exceptional people that allowed us to coach their kids. I mean, Jordan Poole came off the bench for us. And so to be able to accept that role at the time, is unbelievable. The willingness to buy into something bigger than himself was unbelievable. And Jaren was a guy that just continued to get, he just got better every day. Tangibly, you could see him get better. He was so coachable. He was seeking every bit of information he could possibly get, and just you could see it, just he's absorbing everything. So it was really fun to see it. But, man, we had so many guys on that team. That culture was really unique. Less coaching, more they ran with the competitive desire every day. Those guys, starting from the top, but it was driven every day, every drill, everything was all out. And Lalamere kind of creates it a little bit because it's in the middle of the woods in LaPorte, Indiana. There is not accessibility to Target. You're with each other. And so you go back to the dorm, you're playing video games, and these guys are ready to throw hands playing video games. And so this competitive culture was really driven from within, and it obviously elevated everybody's game to allow us to be able to compete on a national level. And we had gone to the national championship the year before, and we lost on a buzzer beater. And so the motivation, everything was kind of in place to, hey man, we're never letting that happen again. And so that next season was fueled by that, and ultimately we got to cut down the nets, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, using that, as motivation, I think the pro-con, right, is you've got a high level of motivation. The con is every team you play that next year knows, oh man, that's the runner-ups. Like, they're a really good team, and they're going to show up and give you the best shot that they can because you're the second best team in the country. So talk about, the preparation and how you'd prepare guys to handle that, for that next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to my playing days. I was really fortunate where preparation was everything and the details were everything. And so I think the more that you don't look at it in this holistic, magnified way, that if you just get singular with it and you continue to progress certain areas of your program, you continue to progress your offense or defense, and you keep it pretty specific to the game or what you're trying to do, and just get better at it on a daily basis and not think about the external. Just really focus on the processes of getting better every single day. And I think our guys allowed us to coach them that way, which allowed us to be successful.
Love it. Now, as you win a national tournament there, one might think, well, gosh, is this where I should be for forever? I mean, do we try and run it back and repeat? Do we try and get a three-peat, a dynasty here? Talk a little about the decision to end up pivoting from the high school side of things into the collegiate side of coaching.
Yeah, it wasn't. I did get comfortable, to be honest with you. I felt like this could be somewhere that I could be for 10 or 15 years because I really thoroughly enjoyed the impact. I think, high school is the most formidable age, and so when you can really get in the weeds with guys and really understand them and try to move them and help them, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool impact that you're having. And so when we won the national championship, each year I kind of had different opportunities presented to me, and I thoroughly enjoyed what I was doing, so I was locked into it. But the national championship year, I had several really good options. And Coach Lato and I built a rapport as he was recruiting some of our guys that was beyond basketball. Again, and to this point where he and I are friends. I was just at his beach house in Virginia Beach golfing with him, a couple months ago. And to this day, it's one of my closest friends and one of my best mentors. I turn to him often if I'm going through something, and it's not limited to basketball. So I'm super fortunate. But that relationship was kind of understood really early on. Like, we had a synergy that we knew we could potentially, man, this could be special. And we were opening up a brand new arena at DePaul. And so it just kind of felt like, man, have I maxed out what we can get done at La Lumiere? And, maybe a new challenge is healthy at this point.
Yeah. So as you go to DePaul, if my research tells me correctly, you were the youngest assistant coach in the Big East history. And, that comes with a great responsibility, but I'm sure there's also a lot of learning. So talk a bit about just keeping yourself humble. I think we all have a propensity when we've, either hit a ceiling or felt like we've kind of maxed our potential out in one area. Sometimes we can start to get that vibe of like, oh, I know how to do this, or I'm good, coach, appreciate the feedback, but like, I've coached before. And, you very much strike me as someone that's a student of the game consistently, always working to learn more and get more knowledge. Share a little bit about, having that mentality as you stepped into this new opportunity.
Yeah, and it's funny, man, I if I'm being totally honest, I was feeling myself a little bit. At that point in my life, and I was young, and I was, it was going well. I was living in Lincoln Park and in a nice place. I was making good money, and so I was, and we were having success. We were having success recruiting, and so the humility part comes. You're going to get humbled in this profession if you fail to continue to be a student, if you fail to continue to totally immerse yourself in what's around you. And so it was a pretty quick snap for me where I got a hold of it. But I don't now, even when we have success or a win or anything, I'm pretty quick to catch myself, to not allow myself to even, it's tough for me to even enjoy something at this point. But I was really fortunate. I walked into a situation with Coach Lato, who's been the ACC Coach of the Year, Bill Courtney, who was coming off being the head coach at Cornell University and had a lot of success, and most recently was the interim coach at the University of Miami. And then I had Tim Anderson, who's had, incredible impact on so many different levels in basketball. So the staff I was around every day humbled me in itself because of their experiences and their knowledge. And so I was smart enough to start paying attention and really understand, man, there's so much about this game that I could be thinking about differently that I hadn't thought about, or the exposure that I only know of, through myself or through Coach Hush or through Coach Wojcik. And so opening my eyes again and being really fortunate that I had the men around me to help me.
Yeah. Now, every college does, their coaching staffs differently, right? Some it's, hey, you're the offensive guy, you're the defensive guy, you're the, player, personnel person. Other universities, it's, hey, this is your game, you're more on the recruiting side. Talk a little about, your beginning year at DePaul and what you were really focused on inside of the organization as a whole.
Yeah, first and foremost is recruiting. We were, that's the biggest task. It's the lifeblood of your program. And so the focus was, hey, man, we got to identify people that we want to be a part of this vision, and then we got to go get them. We are DePaul, keeping DePaul's name. Historically, people have a tremendous amount of respect, but we needed to catch that up with the current state. So, building our brand to be a little bit sexier, more appealing to some young people was really important. We had the new arena, and so we unveiled new jerseys and just kind of trying to change how people perceive DePaul again in a positive way. And then the way we broke out our organization was every 3 scouts, so every third game was your scout. And in that case, you had pretty significant autonomy to guard things a certain way or call certain inbounds plays and certain things like that. So it wasn't necessarily built out to be offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. I do that now personally, but at the time we were rotating scouts.
Absolutely. Now, I'm sure the recruiting side was helpful, having just been in the high school ranks and being very familiar with the players, but also the landscape of high school basketball at that time. So I think for so many people, they feel like, man, one day I'm going to get that great opportunity. And the reality is, something that I've found is most people are interviewing for the job before they got the job, right? You were interviewing to recruit the kid based on, oh, I've seen you coach him, or I saw you coach him. It's not, oh, shoot, I got to go, get fancied up and go put this hat on so I can recruit that kid. It's more like, oh, yeah, I've heard about, Shane, he's a great guy. And then the reputation and the individual, when they meet and they are the one and the same, that's when people are like, all right, I want to be with this guy. So talk a little bit about, character and who you are, isn't just for that moment or to win somebody over in a recruiting battle. It's, no, this is who I am, and I want you to be a part of something else.
Yeah, and that takes time again. Like it's wonderful to say things about yourself. Like you said, your how people think about you and how they respect you is going to be communicated within the circles. It's a small world. So how you live your life, how you do your business, how you handle your business, how you communicate, it's all going to come full circle at some point. And so you always are cognizant of that, but you always want to be yourself no matter what. There's a lot of external noise in this profession, and if you let it dictate who you are and how you lead your life, or have it have any influence on what you're doing as a human, something's wrong at that point. And so I try very hard to stay away from that. I'm not on Twitter. There was a time where I thought it was really important, and I was paying it. Doesn't affect me in any capacity right now. And so really understanding if I want my players to think about me the same way that my kids think about me. And that presentation and that model that I'm trying to display at my house is the same that I'm trying to display in the basketball facility, right? At the end of the day, I'm somebody that I'm hoping our guys are going to look up to and say, hey, man, he's organized in this capacity. His car's always clean. He's detailed. He's on time. He's punctual. He communicates well. He's effective in getting his message through. He meets me where I am. He customizes his communication to who I am and how I receive information. And I think the more that you do that, the biggest tell is when players you've recruited or players you've coached tell other players about their positive experience. And that, and AAU programs or high school coaches that have had a positive experience with you. That is how you really build a reputation and a rapport to really go out and recruit talented and high character people.
Yeah, I love that. And something that maybe you can even speak into is it doesn't always have to mean that, Coach, was the nicest guy, but hey, Coach kept it real, right? Coach was honest. He didn't promise me something. He said, hey, you got to work for it. And I think something you're probably finding or have found in your career is that not everyone is attracted to that, right? Some of the kids you recruit want hey, you're going to be the guy and we're going to try and get you to 20 points a game. And it's like, all right, then I want to go there. And you might say, you're going to have a chance to do all those things, but there's no promises. We're here to win, and that's going to come at potentially the cost of, you not getting the individual numbers you want. So talk a bit about that of, maybe less about presenting yourself in such a way that people want it, and more along the lines of well, this is how it's going to be. You're going to have a fair shot, but it may not be the exact wording that people are looking for from you sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate that I've coached 13 guys that have played in the NBA at the highest levels. It's not including the G League or high level Europe. And so we've had a lot of success with developing guys. And I can tell you without a doubt that none of those guys have ever asked for a thing in terms of expectation. Yeah. It was always assumed or earned. And so I start every single recruiting call of the first thing I'm going to tell you is I'm not going to promise you one thing.
Yep.
I'm not going to promise you 1 minute, one shot, one rep, nothing. Everything in our program is earned on a consistent. I do not care who plays. I don't care. And so everything we do, it goes back to that competitive environment that we're trying to cultivate. Everything we do is about competition and separation. We're trying to separate ourselves first amongst our peers, and it's not limited to can I make a shot or can I not? Can I be punctual to class? Can I communicate effectively? Can I do the things that our program is trying to be about, the standards of the program? And so that's what you hope resonates with somebody when you're talking to them. And sometimes it doesn't. And you know what? I was looking to be promised this role and this, and you got agents now. Well, I need 20. What if you say yes and then you don't get it? Well, what now?
Right.
A position where you're upset, I'm upset. No, everything will be earned within our program. And again, sometimes that doesn't resonate with people, and that's okay with me. And most of the time, the people that we've identified from a character perspective, they're ready for that.
Yep, I love it. Now, to your point, you've had, I think you said, was it 13 NBA players they've coached? Yeah. One of them while you're at DePaul was Max. So talk a little bit about that because, once again, that's somebody that you might see today in the NBA and be like, oh man, I'm sure it's always been, he's the best player. And certainly was a great player and a very talented player, but I know you mentioned, hey, his work ethic was just unreal. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was. He had this insatiable attitude toward everything he did, and you want to talk about competitive spirit. It doesn't matter what he's doing, whether it's baseball, tennis, golf. You're almost getting into it with him because he's competing at that level. Proud to say he's somebody that's become a friend for me. I mean, we talk consistently. He talks to our team. He stops by when he's in town, and so to watch his growth from a Division II player to just the amount of work he poured into his craft and his love and the sacrifices that he made on a consistent basis and how important everything was to him. But it goes back to holistic development too. A guy that legitimately did the laundry because he had respect for the managers and what they did. And so, hey man, you guys take the night off. You guys go get dinner. It's on me. I got the laundry tonight. And so when you have a guy, your best player too, that has that level of all-in mentality, that level of work ethic, that level of character, I mean, it sets the tone for the rest of the program. And so it's so rare to find it. And it's allowed him to progress. And the thing that I'm most proud of, and I'm hoping he would say the same, is he's just a winner in where he goes, whether it was the Heat or now with the Cavs. He's deep in playoff runs every single year. And that's not ironic. It's not by coincidence. He's a worker. He's earned it. Going through a little foot surgery right now where he's rehabbing, but I have all the confidence in the world he's going to have a heck of a year again.
I love it. Now, if only the story was DePaul, national champions. Shane ends up leaving national champions and heads to the next thing. But COVID happens, weird things go on, right? And it's time for the staff to transition. And so talk a little bit about that season, because I think, your world is an attractive one, but sometimes people forget the business side of it, and that is, hey, there's expectations that a university and an AD have, and if those aren't met, then they navigate other waters. So talk a little bit about that, kind of transition from DePaul and then on to Central.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard. It was tough because we felt like we had built a pretty consistent program where we had some really talented people. We had the second most NBA players in our time behind Villanova in the league. And we won 19 games. We went to the championship of a postseason event that they hadn't been to in a long time, over 20 years. And so we felt like we were making some significant strides. Obviously, the league is heavily resourced, and we aren't at the time. You have an AD change. You have COVID happen. I mean, we played our first game during COVID. Our second game of the year we played was at Providence in the league because the city mandates and masks and all this. So anytime, I can't tell you the amount of times we jump on a charter plane and we'd get to a location and somebody test positive. So, boop, game's over, get back on the plane, go home. And so it was, when you're dealing with 19, 20, 21-year-olds and they're dealing with this, I mean, it was a really hard time. There was a lot of challenges that were going on. You get swabbed twice a day. It was crazy. And you're playing in these arenas, these enormous arenas with cardboard cutouts. So it was a challenge. And then obviously we had an AD change, an admin change, and they decided to go another direction. And it was unfortunate because we felt like we had some good momentum, but that is the reality of the business. You're hired to get fired, and so. Started moving into looking at different opportunities, and I was actually pretty set on going another route and staying in the Big East actually. And Central Michigan presented itself, and Tony Barbee, who's one of my dearest friends, had an opening, and so we connected and went to Mount Pleasant, Michigan from there.
So talk about joining a new staff and being at a school that's maybe a little bit smaller in resource potentially than where you had been, being in the Big East. But I think, once again, the reality of some of the most successful coaches are they're people that have been in, coaching environments where it might not be the most resourced, but that's where you learn oftentimes, how to get things done, because there is no one else to come do the job. It's like, well, if I don't do it, it's not getting done. And that teaches you a whole new level of, lesson in basketball coaching.
Oh, there's no question. And the beautiful thing about La Lumiere is it taught me to wear all the hats. There was no job beneath you because there was nobody to do it. And so as much as I had great people with me and supported me, I started off as the strength coach too, and the trainer. As we progressed and we won some games, we got we had more investment that allowed us to hire some of those positions. But, you did the laundry, you made sure guys' ankles were taped, to that level and to that extent. But it also makes you very aware of the program and the needs and what has to be met. And so transitioning into Central, where we didn't have as many resources, it's not so much the difficulty wasn't on the resources as it was of just, you're building the program again and you're starting from scratch, and you got to start to figure out who's important and who you need around and putting it in your vision and Coach Barbie's vision and executing what he sees. And, and it's a new perspective, which at this point, I'm so eager to learn now that this is awesome. Right. So it was just really about executing his vision for the program.
Yeah. Now, I think for anyone, we're talking about in the scope of basketball, right? But someone listening might be thinking, all right, as I enter in my role as the next regional manager or the vice president of a company or the principal of a school, whatever it is, I think we all end up being a mixture of the people that have poured into us. But for you, having so many different coaches that you've coached alongside and been coached by, and then friends that are in the world, how do you kind of sort through things of like, hey, I do want to try that, or I just know myself well enough that although that's really good and it works for you, that's probably just not going to be something that is going to have success with my personality or, the way that I carry myself.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm the byproduct of being around some really smart people. I mean, Alan Huss was the Big South Coach of the Year. Dave Lato's been the ACC Coach of the Year. Tony Barbie's been the Conference USA and MAC Coach of the Year. So the people I've been around, I've been incredibly fortunate to learn from. And so a little bit of an amalgamation of all those ideas and people. And like you said, it is a little trial and error for yourself. And you recognize, hey, this works, that didn't work. I'm not afraid to try to go from good to great. Yeah. I'm not afraid to try to be better than we can be. I'm with the status quo of, hey, we're good enough. I want to see how we can propel this to potentially being great. And so always be willing to try some things. But then I think something I learned early on is you always got to be yourself. You got to trust that intuition. You got to trust yourself. You got to stick to your core values and principles. I think when you're an assistant coach, you're executing somebody's values and missions and what they believe in, and you got to soldier up. Whether you want to turn left or right, those decisions are made in the office. But when it's left, you're going left, and you don't have as much autonomy as you do when you're the head coach. But I think it's equally as important to get, because sometimes, even though you want to go right, you went left, it's the right decision, and you learn from it, and you can understand it, and it gives you a new perspective, exposure, a new idea, thought process that's helped you grow. And so, yeah, really fortunate. I've been extremely lucky and blessed to be around the people I've been around.
Well, I think you make a really good point there. Sometimes you turn right and it doesn't work out the way that you thought. And I think sometimes we're too quick to just chalk that up as a loss, right? Like, oh, I made the wrong choice. Oh, I did the wrong thing. And the reality is, it may not have been the right thing to do at that moment in time, but what can we take away from it that at a future date and a future decision can help me make the next right choice? So maybe share a little bit about that, from your standpoint of, hey, it's not necessarily right and wrong. Maybe in that moment there was a right or wrong, but if we can take it as a learning opportunity, it ends up just being something that builds, me for future Phil.
Yeah, I think it's something that I have had to learn probably the hard way. You have to be patient in this game. You got to be patient when you're coaching. You got to let things evolve. You got to let things happen, whether you call it the universe or not. There's things that are happening behind your control that you can't decide. And so as it plays out, whether you went left or right, and it ended up being a really good positive thing for you, you kind of have to trust it a little bit and continue to go left, even though you committed left. So you can't go back right now. And so you got to dive into it and hope that you can navigate it and figure it out. But there's plenty of those moments where, man, I wish we could have turned left right there, thinking back. But you got to use them as learning opportunities. I mean, we went on a 6-game losing streak in the middle of our season last year, and we still ended up winning 19 games. And I'm talking about 6 games where it's one possession here, one possession there, buzzer beaters. And so had an opportunity to win 23 games in our second season. But that I'm just as grateful for that 6-game stretch as I am our 6-game winning stretch, or going to the semifinals of the CBI and potentially playing for a championship. I'm just as grateful because it taught me things and lessons that allowed us to change course and have a successful end of the season.
That's wisdom right there. I love it. Now, the time at Central Michigan doesn't end up being a super long stint because, yes, the opportunity with Incarnate Word comes up. So talk a little bit about how that opportunity came to be and then the opportunity to become a head coach.
Yeah, always wanted to be a head coach. So kind of I had several rounds of interviews on different jobs. So I had some level of preparation for what it was, and a search firm reached out and kind of went through the process, and ultimately, had really good conversations with our athletic director, Dr. Duran, and our vice president. San Antonio was extremely appealing to me. Being able to be in a major metropolitan area is important for me as a head coach because, like you said, especially if you're going to go into a situation that is not heavily resourced, you got to have I like to say you got to have like a Chip and Joanna Gaines mentality. You got to be ready to fix the house and fix it. Yep. You can't be pointing to other people as it's their responsibility. And so I'm really attracted to situations that have to be built. I don't know why, but it's really appealing to me because I like to be part of the ground floor of, I walk into the house and I can see the chimney and the rug and the paint and the wallpaper and how this is going to be spectacular. And then we have a staff that's been really successful in going to make those asks and build some really significant relationships with people that want to be a part of our vision. And so really grateful that they gave me this opportunity because it's such a unique school. We're located in Alamo Heights, which is the best part of San Antonio. I mean, it's spectacular. The sun is out 300 days a year. I mean, we are very fortunate there.
I love it. Now, to your point, we've talked a lot about different visions and you connecting with the head coach and be like, all right, I think this is going to be a good fit. I can see myself here. Now, all of a sudden, as the head coach, that changes a little bit, right? You're the one casting the vision, and all right, I got to find, my crew that's buying into what I'm, seeing. And so talk a little about that as you're building out, your staff and as you continue to have a philosophy for recruiting, how you're conveying that vision. And, I know earlier with Tulsa, you had said, hey, we kind of have 3 words that, were the decide or, kind of the driving force of what we did. Do you have any 1 or 2 mantras or words that are, instilled in the program now?
Yeah, and so when you're going about, the one thing I would tell any young coach is you can always change your ball screen defense. You can always change your offensive philosophies. You cannot change the character in the room. So identifying character, identifying the people that you can trust and that you want to be around every day. At the end of the day, college basketball, college athletics in general, you spend an abnormal amount of time with somebody. And so you want to be around people you like. And again, bigger than basketball, just sit in the office and talk hoops all day long, all day. I want to be able to talk current events. I want to debate some politics. So you want to identify people that you can trust, that you know, and that ultimately you want to be around and have some fun with, because it's going to be a windy road. It's going to be ups. It's going to be downs. And if you're with people that love you and are going to support you, and vice versa, you got something special. In terms of kind of the vision and for what we do, we have 2 real synonymous words, with our program. Again, going back to holistic development, we have higher. We want our guys trying to become the best versions of themselves and going to a higher place. There's an Italian Saint Pier Giorgio Frassati that has a saying, verso alto. And so he was a rock climber, but he was also, philosopher to a degree, and it was always the idea of reaching to a higher place, spiritually, physically, mentally, and so we want our guys to get into that same mindset. And so higher is an acronym for us, and the first part is hunger, H. You have to have a desire. You have to seek this. You have to want this. You have to have, this has got to be something that you are starving for, right? Yeah. If you really want to be unique and special in this. The I is an intensity. You have to have a unique focus to this. Mm-hmm. We have a saying in our program that's eyebrows down, which is like, this has got to be serious. I got to be locked in. I got to be focused on what we're trying to do. You have to have grit, which is the G. You have to be able to respond to hard things. You have to be able to get through hard things. Whether it be through a communal aspect of things, but you personally need to be able to navigate hard things. You have to have a heart, H. You have to have passion for what you're doing. You have to love it. If you don't love this, it's not going to work out. Don't pursue it unless you love it. And so you have to have that heart. You have to have empathy, compassion with the people around you to build true relationships. E is enthusiasm. The first thing I give our guys when they get here on the first day of campus is a little stuffed animal, a Tigger, that they have to keep in their locker. And I have a big Tigger in my office. Every day when we walk to the floor, you got a choice. You're going to be Tigger or you're going to be Eeyore today. And so focusing our guys on being elite with a Tigger mentality and bouncing around the gym and having fun, because we get to do this. We don't have to. I know it's an old mantra, but we get to. This is a blessing, absolute blessing. And then R, you got to be relentless. You have to pursue this relentlessly. Like nobody else. And so if we can do those things, not just as a player, but as a person, we feel really good about the direction that we're headed as individuals. And then over talking, but anyway is our word. That is kind of our calling word of, regardless of our external things that are happening to us, and they are all happening to us. Regardless of being sick, regardless of my dog died, regardless of my relationship status, regardless of the political nature that is, we still got to show up anyway and do our job. There's a great Mother Teresa poem about, be kind anyway. And so the same philosophy with how we do our things is you show up anyway. And if we can learn to do that in the midst of a lot of adversity and a lot of chaos and really create a really cool culture, I think we're going to have a pretty successful year.
I love it. Now, in today's world, the era of NIL and transferring, I think one of the increasingly hard tasks of any college coach is you got to recruit the kid there, and then you got to recruit the kid every year to stay there, right? You got to say, hey, I don't just want to be a platform for you to go on to the next thing. However, I think you've said it yourself in regards to, we're building a culture. And I think when you buy into a culture, you can start thinking about the program more than me, right? We over me. So talk a little bit about, NIL and just, the state of, recruiting and what that looks like today, but how, culture can keep and retain and attract talent.
Yeah. The most significant word in college basketball to me right now is retention. If you rewound 10 years ago, it was talent. It was one and done, and that dominated the space. And now it is about, can you get older? Can you create synergy? Can you create continuity within your own program? And so I don't really look at it as a re-recruitment of our guys. I just look at it as an investment, daily deposits into our people. And I'll be the first guy to cheerlead you to go pursue something that could significantly change your life financially if you had the success and we had the success as a program that allowed you that opportunity. And I can say this, like, we had several guys off this team that turned down Power 4 things. Yeah. And we're never in the portal, but that's just the way this thing works. Is feeling very comfortable with our situation and our development plan to get you to the highest possible levels. And it's a blueprint that my staff has done. And so their trust in us is really significant, which puts a lot of good pressure on us as a staff to continue to invest in our own guys and our own people to let them become the best versions of themselves. But it's a daily commitment. It's a daily deposit. This is not something, now we're getting to be March and we better start really let's take him to dinner. Let's make sure he's feeling good. But there's not a player on our roster. All of our guys in some capacity are getting something NIL-wise. There's not a player on our roster that we were the highest bidder for. I can tell you that. And so I think it speaks to A, the university, B, San Antonio being a fantastic place to be, but then the team and the environment that we've created that guys want to be a part of.
I love it. Well, Shane, are there any one or two, moments, whether it's a game that you've coached in or a game you played in that you'd like to share, or just a pivotal moment that stands out to you that we haven't been able to talk through today?
We had in both my time at Lalamere and at UIW, we had a significant moment. And in both situations, they were both fights. They were fights that went viral in an unfortunate way. And I can laugh now. In the moment, it's a very tough navigation because you again, our acronym is higher. We're trying to be the individuals and the team that is reacting on a higher level. They go low, we go high. We know we have tools for this. But in both scenarios, as we were building programs, we're continuously investing and speaking and articulating, this is different. This is different now. This is different now. This is different. This is how we're going to be different. We're going to be uncommon. And so in that process, I think young people have a tendency to now take pride in it and say, okay, well, this is going to be different now. And in both scenarios, while we were building a brand, something happened. Both times, not our initiation, our reaction. But I think in both cases, it was our young men trying to stand up for something. Yeah. Trying to stand up for the program, trying to stand up for a teammate, trying to articulate, probably through action, which was the right way to do it, this is different. And we're a different group, and this is going to be uncommon. We are no longer 345 in KenPom. This is going to be a different team. And so while I'm not proud of the fact that we responded in that capacity or that we put ourselves in that situation, I understand it. And it ends up, sometimes the worst can ultimately help you out in unique ways. And I can't tell you the amount of times that as we're trying to build UIW and have people just pronounce our name right, Incarnate Word, or Lalamere, Lumiere, Lumawari, like when those moments happen and you do go viral, well, guess what, man, I didn't know you guys were in San Antonio. I didn't know Incarnate Word. Wow, I didn't know it was Catholic. I didn't know. And so Davion Bailey, our best player, the first thing, he knew about us was, and so it's a bad thing. It was unfortunate that it happened, but it's one of those things. The positives are, man, we're standing up for our program. We got a place that the kids believe in, and then the name recognition started to go. And there's positives and negatives with it all, but in both scenarios, ironically, we had a viral fight that kind of kicked off our success.
I love it. Well, Coach, I appreciate you making time and sharing your journey and all the amazing things you've accomplished. And one, excited for the season ahead, but two, excited to continue to watch where you go. And 3 years from now, we'll be doing this again. And, maybe we'll be the head coach at Incarnate. Maybe it'll be off to a different spot, but either which way, I know you're doing great things. So thanks so much for being on.
No, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.